Hey everybody, so what I thought we would do is I would show y'all some simple bases to do, okay? Now the bases that we're going to do, you can do with leftovers, so that's the whole reason I want to show y'all these simple things. Because I'm sure you're like me, you've got 21-inch mesh laying around, you don't have enough to make a wreath, you don't want to piece it together, so I'm going to show y'all these simple bases. But what I already cut these, okay? So this is 10-inch mesh. Now I cut these 20 inches long. There's enough on each roll to cut these 20 inches long, and then you have 18 pieces. So if you have a bunch of rolls of 10-inch mesh laying around, you can kind of mix those in and use two different colors. So think about what you're doing with scraps, okay? So we're going to ruffle these up. And we're going to put one in each tie. Like I said, 20 inches long, 10-inch mesh. And we're going to put one in each tie. Now, the thing is about cutting this 20 inches long, okay, it's going to smash your ribbon. So I'm going to show you how to prevent smashing your ribbon and also to fill your wreath out with your leftover 21-inch mesh. Now, the bases that I'm showing you will be like for me for Easter, Valentine's Day. These are the colors that I'm picking to show you so that I'll be able to use them later on. And then I'm gonna, don't worry, I'm gonna get y'all a nice Christmas present with some base tutorials, different ones that you can use to use up your leftovers. Now, obviously, if I'm cutting a whole roll of 10-inch mesh, it's not a leftover. But for an example, just to show y'all, I have some of this left over, and I have some of this left over. Well, I can put these two together, every other on a wreath form, and use it up. So these are all great money-saving ideas, because realistically, think about this, with your leftover supplies, you've already made your money, you've already sold that wreath, I hope, so it's all paid for. So using your leftover products is nothing but pure profit. That's why I had challenged y'all to do the Valentine's wreath using nothing but Christmas supplies. It's what you have, and the only thing that you spent on it should have been the Valentine's sign. So you're increasing your profit by using leftover. Like I said, cutting these 20 inches long, 10-inch mesh, 20 inches long, is not going to fill this out very well. And also, too, like I said, cutting it 20 inches, it's going to smash your ribbon. So as soon as I get this mesh on, I'm going to show you what to do. That's where the 21-inch leftover mesh comes in. So it won't smash. The ruffle won't smash your ribbon. also too, I need to get rid of all my leftover mesh to make room for new rolls. So I think you can already see the difference between the 20-inch mesh, the 20-inch ruffle, and the 30-inch ruffle. It's definitely not going to fill this out as much as a 30-inch ruffle. That 10 inches makes a big difference because you can see the frame. And then also on the bottom row, the mesh will definitely, because the ruffle is small, it will take control of your ribbon. You will not have control over what your ribbon does. The ruffle, it is really pretty, makes a really nice wreath, but the hardest thing to do with ruffles is to not have them crush your ribbon and smash it up. So this is something that I actually was doing for years. And I just haven't done one in a while. Because I'm the world's worst about, I'll piece mesh together now to make a poof frame. I'll piece it together. And I'm not worried about it. But there's some of my mesh that I don't have enough of it to piece together. So for me, doing stuff like this is basically going back to my grassroots. Because realistically, I've got $4.50 in the mesh. And so in the mesh roll, I've got $8. And then the 21-inch mesh, because the wreaths have already sold, gone, that's paid for material that I'm not having to add into the cost of my wreath. And then, like using your Christmas ribbon to make Valentine's, that ribbon should basically already be paid for. And then it's you can use it as something that you don't have to store. All this comes from when I first started making wreaths. I would try to make sure that I only used one roll of mesh. So I would try to figure out how many inches I could use, but then I would get it on the frame and it wouldn't fill it out. So then I would sit there and I would think, well, how am I going to fill this out? So as you can see, it's kind of thin. Okay, because you can see my work table. Let me hold it up a little bit so closer so you can see. So as you can see, it's kind of thin. You can still see the frame. So we're going to take some leftover 21-inch mesh. And we're going to cut these 10 inches long, 18 of them. Like I said, in the long run, it's going to help hold that ruffle open so it won't crush your ribbon. 8 more pieces to go. And I also reuse these bags. I haven't had to buy any more since I started getting them. I've only bought one ream of like 100 of those bags. All right, one more. And as you can see, I still have mesh left over. So what I'll probably go and do, because I have some of that black and red, and I have more leftover red mesh, is I'll use those two and do the ruffle and do the same technique again to make another wreath. So at this point, like it's all leftover except for on this one I used the jute. So the next one I make, it's all leftover. So I do not have to include the cost of mesh into this wreath. So I've increased my profit, you know, depending on how much you pay for your mesh. I've increased it by at least about $10. So what happens here when you put this in is it's going to hold the ruffle open. It's going to keep it from smashing your ribbon on the bottom layer. So you're just going to take and roll this up. Make sure the cut edge is toward the inside. Okay? Fold it in half and then basically in half again. And then put one in each tie. This also adds a little bit of extra fun to your wreath because these will be sticking out. And see how I'm kind of laying them sideways? I'm doing that on purpose. Like I said, that way the 21-inch mesh is going to hold that ruffle open for me. And it won't crush my ribbon later on. And this is actually too perfect because if you think about some of your fall colors that you might have left over, your browns and stuff, you can mix those in and create everyday wreaths with those. Because with spring coming up, summer coming up, people like everyday wreaths. See how my on the ruffle on the top, like I said, it was eventually going to do that on its own. But it just basically, it's going to ruffle up. And then it eventually just smashes your ribbon. And if you wanted to add more fun to it, you could do every other with these with two colors. You can't do it with three because there's an even number of ties, but you can do it with two different colors. If you do it with three different colors, it's just not going to turn out right. See, I'm going to pull those apart on the top. See how it's making that ruffle lay flat? See how it's flattening everything out? So you're going to have the color of your tan, which I absolutely want. And the red's not over dominating it. But now you know later on, when you come back to lay your ribbon, it's not going to be crushed and it's not going to be pushed up by your ruffle. And you said the ruffle technique, it's really, really pretty. I do love it. But it does smash your ribbon. So I might turn these just a little because I don't want them laying on top of each other. So I'll just kind of turn them a little bit. Now, when you do this, I would definitely recommend putting your sign in the middle. Because also, if you do the ruffle, these create a excellent support for your sign to keep it from sinking into your wreath. So if you do have a bunch of leftover Hobby Lobby mesh, this would be great to do with that because it will help support your sign. And there we have it. So you have your nice tan and your reds. This will make a beautiful Valentine's wreath. We could even turn this into an everyday wreath. This was Christmas mesh. This is just jute, all leftover supplies. Hope y'all enjoyed this one. Thank y'all so much.